Welcome to the Content Amplified podcast, brought to you by Masset. Our goal is to help you get more from your marketing content. Each episode is a 10 to 15 minute interview with industry experts that share amazing insights to help you squeeze as much juice from your content as you possibly can. Here's today's interview.
Welcome back to another episode of Content Amplified. Today, I'm joined by Kaysen. Kaysen, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Well, I'm really excited for the conversation. And before we dive in, Kaysen, maybe give us a little bit of a background. How did you find marketing? What do you love about marketing? And a little bit more about you and your career.
Yeah, absolutely. I have been in marketing since, high school. Started doing internships at a financial services institution. I was responsible for a Kirby Kids Club, teaching kids how to do, smart banking.
Very cool.
And trying to get their parents to want to bank with us by getting their kids to bank. But anyways, then solidified it, going to college for marketing and then moved into social media and on up the ranks. Really fell in love with account-based marketing, got into marketing operations. And now I'm a vice president of marketing at a company called WorkSuite. So yeah, since then, really, like I said, have fallen in love with all of the ways of marketing and how the different disciplines kind of intertwine with each other.
I love it. So today we're going to talk about distribution. And I'm excited about this topic because I think a lot of the times, content's so important. It needs to be really successful. It needs to be quality and things like that. But we do have to focus on the distribution of that content, getting in front of the right people. Kaysen, you have a really cool story. I don't know if you would mind sharing it about your experience with distribution of content and people really nailing distribution when it comes to you.
Yeah. So the story that Ben is talking about here is I was at home one day and I was watching a football game. I'm a Tennessee Vols fan, so go Vols. But it was the commercial break and I was scrolling on my phone on Instagram, and a software I was looking at for work, I can't even remember the name of the tool, but it was some B2B platform, started targeting me on Instagram, and it just blended in with my feed. And I was like, oh, they're targeting me, whatever. And then I look up on the commercial break and there was something, I think it was like a Chewy commercial for my dog. There was something else. And then the same B2B platform. So in this out of home commercial break through the football game, I was like, okay, they're really targeting me. This is very personalized to me. There's something for my dog. There's something else that is just very targeted, age bracket, female homeowner. And then B2B platform that I had been looking at on my work computer, on my cell phone, and now you're on my TV. So it was just you're hitting me on 3 different devices, all at the same address, different mediums. You're trying to they knew exactly who they were targeting at the same time, and they are really trying to nail it. And they knew very specifically, you are targeting Kaysen. And so, yeah, they were attacking me on all fronts. Did not end up buying the technology, though. I will share that.
But at least you knew who they were.
I knew who they were.
Very aware.
I was heavily considering them. Maybe had my team won that game, maybe I would have bought them.
I love it. I love it. So when it comes to distribution of content and getting in front of people at the right time and the right place, where do people start? There's so many different channels, so many different avenues. There's a lot of places to spend your money, and people will gladly take it for you. And it's really easy to do. And you can cruise through a budget like no one's business. I've been there before. Hardly ever does anyone ever ask, well, how do we spend more money and how quickly can we spend it? But when you're looking at distribution, how do you strategically figure out the right places and the right ways to spend your money and share your story?
I think it doesn't even actually start with the right place and how to spend the money, but I think it actually goes back to actually the content, and maybe even before the content, but actually the persona and the industries that you're trying to target. Who are we targeting and what do they need to know? Almost from that educational standpoint, not selling to them, but how do we get them to trust us, or what information can we share with them to solve a problem? Start there, and then depending on what that is, what's the right format? And then, okay, how do we distribute that? What network is the right place to distribute that? And then that starts to go behind, okay, what's the right budget? and into that paid strategy. But if you start with, okay, I want $100 on Google, you're already going to spend $100 on Google instead of, do we even need to spend any money at all? Or is this actually organic? But I think it actually, starting with the budget and the network, you're almost starting in the middle of the process instead of actually where you should be starting.
I love that. Yeah. Starting with the content, actually providing value, finding the channel, distributing it. When you feel like you've done that, how do you know if you've really struck a chord? How do you know if it works? How do you iterate on that? How do you know if it's the content? How do you know if it's the distribution? How are you measuring and testing and figuring out how to get better as you've kind of launched and are sharing your content?
Yeah, I think you'll see it a few different places. The most important place you'll see it in the number of people requesting demos if you have a sales led product. But I think you'll see more demos coming in. And then I think you'll see them moving through the funnel quicker. You'll also see more people wanting to download your content if you're distributing it right. But then I think you'll see it through other avenues. How many people are searching for your content? How many people are engaging with it, say on social media, and really participating in that conversation? If all of those are increasing, you're doing it right. If you're struggling, say, to get people to engage with posts on LinkedIn or attend a webinar, reply to an email, somewhere you're missing the mark. Something's not right.
That makes perfect sense. So when you're looking at it, though, there's content that is purposely at different stages of the buyer's journey. Some content is meant to just get to know someone and this is who we are, what we do, or here's a problem in the industry and here's how you can solve it, down to here are our solutions, down to even here's why you should buy. When you look at distribution of content and the various kinds of content in the buyer's journey, how do you figure that out? Are you using the same, every single channel has every single level of content, or do specific channels just distribute certain content? How do you look at that and understand the buyer's journey well enough to know what types of content should be distributed through what channels?
This is a loaded question, or it can be as simple or as complicated as you want it to be. And I say that I think everyone's looking for a silver bullet of this channel is perfect for high intent content, and this channel is perfect for super low intent. Well, one, I hate to say it, it depends on persona, on industry, on what the intent is across the board. So there's no silver bullet. I think for some, you can just experiment, put the same content out everywhere, see what happens. Do you get more traction on some networks than others? And that starts to kind of tell you what to do. For others, you can do the opposite, go with your gut instinct and then test and iterate there. So for me, I do a little bit of a mix. And I say that it has depended for me what company I'm at the time and how much do I understand our ICP and our buyers. If I really feel like I understand our buyers and where they spend their time, I'm going to go with my gut a little bit more because I understand where they're spending their time and how they're going to interact based on their buying decisions. And I'll put the content out based on the buying journey, where they're spending that time. If I don't know as well, I might do a little bit more experimentation, try to feel it out, maybe throw that wider net. Let me put a little bit of every content out on a lot of channels. And where does it perform? So trial and error. And then as you start to see traction, edit and tweak. I would say one caveat to that. It also changes over time. Just because one channel is showing, let's say, really, early buying signals now doesn't mean it's not going to change later. So reserve the right to test and change it later.
I think that's great. And I love your approach to it's the individual, not the channel. And I think that is really powerful. And it's how well you know the individual. Because it's true. Because you may be watching football and you might be in the bottom of the funnel. Well, that's the right time for the bottom of the funnel. It wasn't necessarily the fact that you were watching football, and football is a great bottom of the funnel channel. That's actually probably opposite. It's probably a greater top of the funnel channel for most of the use cases.
Yeah.
But because it was you,
exactly,
it made sense for it to be the bottom of the funnel, which I think is really cool.
Well, I say that a lot of time. Just think about it, the individual. You might want to read an 85-page white paper in depth on a topic, where someone else might want to see a very quick TLDR blog on the topic, where I might want a very quick Instagram post on it. It can all be the same exact topic. We may all fit technically the same persona. It's not the same exact post is not going to work for us the same way, regardless of the network. The format changes in how we're going to engage with it. So it's not just the channel, the format matters. You have to try different formats on different channels, even if technically speaking, on paper, we fit the same persona. So it all matters. And sometimes it's not going to work, even if on paper, we're all the same ICP, we're all the same persona, channel, format, it all is going to make a difference. And yeah, to your point, football games could be top of funnel or bottom of funnel, or there's going to be elements that you can't control, like does the team win or lose?
I can control that. It depends on what socks I wear that day. 100% up to me.
I need you to cheer for my team and wear the right socks.
I'm a fan of a team that hardly ever wins, so I wouldn't trust me. So I love that. Yeah, I think often we talk about the content and then the channel and the person. I love that you're looking at the format as well, because even some channels support multiple formats, things of that nature. But it is true. I mean, for me personally, if someone wants to have content that I'm going to pay attention to, it's audio. It's going to be on my commute. It's going to be doing something like that. I'm going to be listening to it. If it's a 70-page white paper, zero chance I'll read it. Not a chance. But I know a lot of people near me and that are close friends to me, they're like, audio, I won't touch it with a 10-foot pole. Give me a novel and I'll read it.
Yeah.
And so I love that. I love that. So you test everything, it sounds like. So you hone in on the content. Do you purposely at the beginning repurpose it before you distribute, or do you distribute it and then kind of test into, the different formats? How do you, I mean, obviously there's repurposing of content. What do you recommend when it comes to taking one piece of content and matching multiple formats? When do you do that in the process? Do you have data before you know what to do with it? What are your thoughts there?
I think it depends on the team's bandwidth. I like to try to launch with a few different formats if possible. Some of it comes later as you have some data, but try to launch with a couple at least. Maybe some type of audio or visual, at least a video. You may not have a podcast or just an audio piece until later. Can you have at least a blog if there is, a white paper or case study? Can you have some also short form text, a couple of small image graphics? Start there. And then maybe other iterations come later. If a webinar can come later, great. If you want an on-demand version, cool, that can come later. Nurture type emails, those can come a little later. But how do you add on in time or iterate, even cover designs or different types of the creative? Test those later as you get some different data points. But start somewhere.
Love it. So when you have like an original piece of content that you are repurposing for different formats, what do you recommend? What are some good places to start for source material? I think sometimes it's difficult to say, okay, this is the big golden piece of content. Now let's, distribute it in different ways. But where do you start? Is it a webinar? Is it an article? Or do you start with different things across the board? Where is a good source material of content come from?
I don't even know how to answer that because it really depends on where it starts with. I think a good place to truly start is if it starts with like a customer interview, record that and then turn it immediately into like a case study. Start there. If it really starts with a webinar, there's your webinar and then turn it into a couple blogs. So what is the original starting point? And then let that determine what the original repurposing pieces are.
I think that makes perfect sense. I love that. Well, this has been an awesome conversation. As promised, they go by really quick. 15 minutes is super fast. It's really hard to get everything in one episode. But Kason, thanks again for sharing your thoughts. Learned a ton, had a lot of fun. If anyone wants to connect with you and reach out and continue the conversation, how can they find you online?
Yeah, absolutely. I say add me on LinkedIn. It's the best place to reach me. It's just Kason Goranson. Definitely the only one there with that name. But yeah, this has been great. Really, thank you for having me.
Love it. Again, thanks for the time today. Appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to the Content Amplified podcast. Please subscribe and leave us a review. And for additional ways to get more out of your content, visit our website at getmasset.com. That's getmasset.com. And tune in next time to the Content Amplified podcast.